sports analogy to start.
Yeah, there you go.
Good morning. Hi, everybody. How you guys doing? Come on. How are we doing this morning? We got some energy left, right? We're not done yet.
6th Street? Yes,
right?
Come on.
No one was out last night.
No
Everyone
one.
went to bed early
Yeah.
and feels very rested, right?
Of course.
Right. Perfect. Mark, you work at ESPN in a role called Programmatic. What is your exact title, actually?
It's Director of Audience Sales, and it's our way of saying all things programmatic as it relates to ad sales. So the relationships with the ad tech providers and the partnerships that we have in place, the implementation of those, working on strategy, and then education as well, both internal and external, all run through my group.
I love the fact that it's actually called audience sales, not programmatic sales. Was that a conscious decision, do you think?
It was, trying to get a little bit away, although it hasn't quite worked that way, but getting away from sort of leaning on the word programmatic and the fact that, audience is ultimately what we want to bring to the advertisers using, whether it's data, whether it's the programmatic channels, but the things that we have in place.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk, Bob was ever talking about data. It's obviously a theme, kind of data's the oil or the currency is certainly the phrases that get tossed out all the time. We've been talking that you guys too are really embracing the notion of your data, and actually that people might not realize just how much information you guys have at ESPN about fans as you guys think of them. And so talk to us a little about that.
We have a ton of data. We have over 40 million registered active users, and these are people that have come, volunteered the information, signing up, whether it's for fantasy, insiders, or personalization. We just relaunched our site. We relaunched the app last year with an eye towards personalization and putting the right content in front of users when they want it. So people raise their hand and they tell us what they're into, whether it's soccer, whether it's the college that they went to and the teams that they follow. All of that, we have that information and we're able to action on it.
Yeah. What are some examples that might be unique to an ESPN specifically, right? And I want to get into some of the Disney connections. I'd love to explore that with you as well. But if you can just think just with ESPN itself, are there unique things you guys can do that maybe other types of publishers can't?
Well, and I can give you two examples. So one, and if you're in the publisher session yesterday, you heard me talk about it, was actually highlighted this week in our upfront by Allstate, but they utilized our what we call fan relationship management information, our FRM data, to create 82 audience segments around college football teams or college football schools. With that, they were able to tailor 82 pieces of creative for those specific audiences and use that in a campaign. So that's one way that advertisers are using it. And then what we're able to do is see through consumption patterns, and I'll use an example from the SEC. Let's say an Alabama fan is consistently going to the away game pages for teams, so going to the LSUs and going to the Auburns. We can infer, make an insight that they might be traveling to those games, and we'll put them into a travel bucket.
Yeah. Where would you guys say? So, listen, again, I think the amount of information, and I think the stat was, as much as half of your page views are people that have logged in. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you actually have a huge, treasure trove of your own data that you can create these segments. Where would you say, though? Again, this is still a new topic, obviously, in both sides for buyers and sellers. Where would you say you guys are in kind of that evolution? It sounds like you're embracing it pretty fully, but feeling like you're still in an experimental stage in many levels?
Well, I think it's an evolution. One of the things that we're doing, and this is from a Disney top-down perspective, is we're in the process actually this month of implementing a data management platform. It was a 6-month process involving all the business units, which are essentially companies within Disney, to do the assessment, and both from a publisher, so both from sort of a sales perspective, pushing out, but then also from a marketer's perspective, because you got to think we've got Disney Cruises, Parks Resorts, all of the studios, ABC, ESPN for TuneIn, all of that's going through the DMP.
And is that, when you think about all those assets, are you actually saying that there could be a point in time where, as part of the Disney family, I just went to Disney World for a week. You're welcome.
Thank you. Magic Band?
Yeah, Magic Band, got it right. So they tracked me everywhere I went,
yes,
right? By the way, if you haven't had this Magic Band at Disney, they're ridiculous. It's your room key, your credit card, your entry pass.
You can pay with it.
Maybe slightly connected digitally, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is it actually possible that one day I could be on ESPN and I could be targeted based on that behavior as well?
I don't know if I'd use the word targeting, but information will go into it. We want to use both, Parks and Resorts offline information eventually to build sort of a 3D model of our audiences and apply that. And maybe it'd be something like, from an ESPN perspective, let's say you were at Disney World with your family, and it was going to be a Bulls game, maybe a bad analogy, or a Blackhawks game.
Better. I feel better now.
And we knew that about you, that you're a big Bulls fan. We could reserve a restaurant that would be showing the Bulls game, send you something through the My Disney app experience, and say, hey, click here to accept your reservation. The Bulls start at 6:05 tip-off, and it's there. So that's just one of an infinite way.
Pretty cool.
Ways to use it, yeah.
I'm in. I'll take that offer.
There you go. You got it.
All right, so this presupposes, of course, that marketers are asking for these kinds of things, right? That certainly we heard Bob on stage doing that. I think the world knows that Kraft and those guys have been very lean forward in that. Jim Kisko was on stage the other day, and Kellogg's guys are. You in your role, I know, get to go out with a lot of the sales team and listen to these marketer conversations a bunch. And again, your job is to represent these solutions. Where is the conversation as you see it now? What's the conversation? Is it about programmatic? Is it about addressability? And how are you seeing that evolve?
I mean, it's about all of the above. I mean, the 5 or 6 different definitions that are out there about programmatic. Marketers want to tap into it. We want to tap into it for efficiency's sake. We want to deliver higher performing campaigns for our partners, personalization, and everything else that goes into it. The conversations recently, and it kind of bleeds into the data management platform from the Disney perspective, is people look at ESPN and they think about Monday Night Football and sports and the college football playoff. They look at ABC and they think of Scandal and the Oscars and GMA. Disney is Frozen, we've got Star Wars, all of these things, but they don't think of all of that at the same time when they think of us. And that's where we want to start moving a little bit of the conception. Obviously, you're going to come to us for the high impact sports-related partnerships and sponsorships around the games and events, and you're going to do the things you do with ABC around those, whether it's the Oscars or the brand integration in television shows. But from an audience perspective, we want to give marketers the ability to hit that audience and know about that audience wherever they land on a Disney property. Okay.
And so let's take that to, the quote TV world, right? At the end of the day, I mean, the big money, the big assets you guys still sit on is in this thing called linear television, right? When people think about the future of linear television, what is often said is the thing that's going to continue to drive it is sporting events, live events, and live sports. And so as we connect that into the Sports Center quote-unquote programmatic unit, I guess there's a couple questions in there. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that unit for people that don't know about it.
Sure.
And I mean, just again, the fact that you guys are embracing this notion of marketplaces so early seems interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Programmatic Sports Center unit. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's an isolated 30-second spot within the programming of Sports Center. It goes from the anchor to a monitor on stage within our digital center studio up in Bristol. 30-second commercial fires. There's a countdown clock coming next, so a little bit of a nod to digital video and letting the viewer know that, hey, it's not a long investment, we're going to get you back to programming, and from there it goes right back into programming. We created a dashboard with a technology partner that exposes 30 days of ongoing inventory to somebody that's logged in. And really, I've gotten pushback in meetings and people saying almost confrontationally, hey, it's not programmatic, it's television, it's not this. And so I kind of back up and say, under the definition, if we're looking at automation, that's what we're looking at from a programmatic perspective. 2 clicks, you can buy a commercial on SportsCenter. And then it'll run.
And it is biddable, correct?
And it's biddable. We just added that functionality as well. So we've created a biddable element to that.
Right. Yeah. It's not addressable, obviously, because it's a single feed.
It's single feed and it's live TV. And really, we saw, and I think everybody here understands that there is linear inventory moving into these marketplaces. How audience-driven that is still, I think it's still early days a little bit. We wanted to play offense around the communication of this. We see our live programming, whether it's studio shows or our sporting events, as huge assets and something that we want to give marketers the ability to tap into through these new channels. It's very premium in nature. You never leave the set. It's DVR proof, and so it was our way of getting our communication out about what we see programmatic television being part of.
Yeah. When you sell that unit right now, do you find is the appetite more from digital buyers, TV buyers, or are they both in the room? What's that looking like?
We're getting the digital buyers there. You need an ISKI code to execute on it, so it's still a television conversation, but that's the next thing on my ever lengthening list of to-dos is get the digital video buyers in there as well, and being able to actually getting them in there because they're going to be used to looking at a dashboard and buying. That's very new for a TV buyer that we're finding.
Okay, so we spend a good bit of time working with a lot of, again, quote, linear TV guys, and certainly there's a point now where I haven't found anyone, none of the big broadcasters or networks that still have their head in the sand. Those days are over, but certainly there's a spectrum of lean forward. Just by nature of this unit that you guys launched, you made a lot of news on it. You guys seem to be much more lean forward. I guess I'm interested in what you think it is about the ESPN culture and mission that has you guys really trying to blaze this trail.
It's a good question. You're talking about culture, and I think a lot of it is that there's an element of paranoia. I mean, we are as big as we are, we're as strong as we are, but at the same time, we don't rest, we don't take it for granted. We're all pretty humbled by it and feel a responsibility to continue that. And part of that is testing new platforms, listening to our marketing partners, and it's been validated by the length of partnerships that we have, whether it's just multi-year agreements or just year over year, the same partners are coming back to us. So that's some sort of signals coming back that we're doing the right things and asking the right questions and reacting the right way to our partners. And it's really, and it might not, we go down paths and we back out of them. So that's also part of it as well. We're not afraid to try new things. And the example I'll use is Global X Games. We did it for a year and it didn't land, it didn't deliver on what we had anticipated, and we cut it quick and moved back to just the domestic X Games.
So are you or is the company pretty happy with this sports center unit you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been very well received in the market. Internally, working with the 3 or 4 different groups, I think it's really invigorated some groups that don't necessarily touch digital, who don't feel that they have a hand in all of this stuff going on. All of a sudden they do now. So there's been a lot of internal excitement and energy created around that. And it certainly doesn't, from my perspective, start and stop with this unit. We have a ton of studio programming, a ton of live events. I mean, there's a lot of places we can take this. This is very, very, the first step in a long journey around this.
Yeah, in terms of that journey, connecting the true digital world and the kind of linear world, and getting past a point where the notion of linear, matters, and it's just, it's video and it's consumed across channel.
Sure.
Is that a long way from that? Are we a long way from there?
Well, if mobile is 5 to 7 years of mobile, and we're in year 1 of programmatic TV.
Right. So yes, we got a few years.
I think 2017 is still going to be the year of programmatic
Fair
TV.
enough.
But
Fair enough.
We're getting our arms around it as fast as we can. We announced 2 partnerships this week, back on Tuesday, partnering with Cablevision as well as Rentrack to ingest their set-top box data into the data management platform when we get there. We are still getting our arms around it, but what we do know is it's going to give us some audience insights that aren't there around linear TV and addressability, and allow us both from an campaign optimization and attribution perspective to do some things we can't do right now, and our partners to do things that they can't do right now.
How much new technology are you finding you have to spend time sourcing and reviewing? Is that what? I mean, we all know there's a lot.
There's a couple emails.
There's a few emails you get. Is it a major driver of how you think about it? Is this a technology problem still?
There are some legacy systems in TV that are there. I'm still educating myself. My background's digital, so I'll go and sit down with some of the old school TV guys and have them give me their vernacular. So we kind of trade acronyms. It's kind of cool. But so there's an education process, and it's going to take a little bit of time, I think. But it's happening. I don't think anyone would argue that it's going to look the same way in 3 years. It's just a matter of how long it takes.
Okay. I didn't actually ask you. You mentioned all the different definitions about the word quote programmatic. That's been a theme here. Have you guys at ESPN settled on what you want that to mean, or do you?
Top down, and you probably heard variations on it, or people here use it. It's using data and technology to help make marketing decisions, better marketing decisions, help our clients make better marketing decisions. From there, you can talk about exchanges and real-time bidding, data-driven decisions, real-time marketing, automation and efficiency. They all sort of have to do with using data and technology to do better marketing.
Okay. And so I think that's great. So it's pretty broad. And then so when you think of quote programmatic TV, it sounds like it might be a mix of some things addressable, some things that are marketplace driven, trying to bring together a mix. I can't imagine, I don't think you would expect that a majority or even a small minority of your spots in the next several years would be biddable, but they might otherwise be addressable or automated or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, automated, and I think we're hearing a lot of interest. It's not noise, but from our, as we start the upfront conversations for 2016, audience buying, audience-based TV buying, and so that's where I think getting smarter about who's in front of the screen and how do we do that. Again, it's not perfect. Everybody's learning that. I think it's one of those questions that if you answer it, you're going to make a lot of money in this space.
Yeah.
But it's something that we're working on.
Yeah. So I find it fascinating that listen, I believe in this kind of guaranteed and non-guaranteed world. The upfronts, of course, in TV are the focus of the big guaranteed commitments of really the head of our industry. I know you guys talked a lot about data in your upfront. I know some other providers did as well. I mean, that must say a lot in and of itself, that it's not just about the content being rolled out, it is about the audiences. That must signal something that you guys are seeing in market, the importance of, again, this conversation.
Staying ahead of it, and Bob wrote a great article about it, is that I think, and again, our upfront's a little bit different because we're not putting new shows that may or may not land out there. So it's very different. We're out there talking about the effectiveness. We have 3 client testimonials in our upfronts. We blend in some of the sports personalities, use a lot of humor. As you mentioned, the data. Kenny Mayne did a riff on big data, and it was great. It was probably the highlight of the show. But then we're also talking about how we can deliver better campaigns, performance, partnerships to our advertisers, and that's a big part of it.
Cool. One more, and then we'll open up to you guys for questions. Let's just go to training for a second, right? I mean, you mentioned that's a big part of your job.
Yeah.
How are you training? Again, a bunch of people that probably aren't all that well versed in digital, much less kind of head of the market.
Yeah, you're right. We have TV and print sellers within our group that I get tapped into, and ask for POVs and things like that. And we're going to take 120 of our sellers or people related to sales who might find themselves in a meeting through a course, not unlike what Zach described a couple of days ago with you for Starcom. And it's really, we want our groups, our sellers, to be asking the right questions, to not shy away from the conversation if it starts getting into ad technology, programmatic, whatever it is, and understand that with our data, from a Disney top-down perspective, we're as big a player as anybody in terms of what we can deliver around that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when you think of the power of Disney there. Another place Disney plays.
Right.
Who's got questions out there in the audience? And I can always ask more questions. Somebody's got some energy this morning for questions. No one? All right.
ESPN predictions?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, how about tickets? Do you have any access to tickets?
Yeah, I can well, you don't need them.
Now
after the Bowls, I think next year.
Next year, yeah, fair
I can
enough.
get you some tickets.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sure.
Let's go a minute deeper on then this guaranteed and non-guaranteed world. When you think about programmatic, obviously most of the money being spent right now is in a non-guaranteed basis. How does that impact how you guys think about doing deals? Because clearly you don't want to move, you don't want to change big deals that are guaranteed and upfront committed into a non-guaranteed basis. Are you trying to tie access to certain type of inventory to commitments and access to good data to commitments?
Well, nobody likes the concept of being tied to something, but I think it's more around the access, and whether that's access to different layers of data, different insights, the ability to have first looks when we're doing something like the Sports Center unit and things like that. All of those things, I think we're tying to it and looking at it. And there's the move, as has come up and over the last couple of days, about the automated guarantee to the programmatic guaranteed world, and automating a lot of those functions as well. So we're doing that too.
Bullish on things like programmatic direct, automated guaranteed, or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, from an audience perspective, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody want to ask a question out there? We got 45 seconds left. Okay, cool. Definitely can't see it.
You're going to open up more programmatic inventory on the network, but beyond the one unit.
From a TV perspective,
Yeah.
linear. Not putting a date on it, I think we want to start giving certain partners the ability to tap into linear. I would say maybe by the end of 2016, but again, we're pretty deliberate in moving in this direction, so we want to get it right before we do anything like that.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Baby steps, but what I sense though is deliberate, but like really focused.
Yeah.
Like this sounds like it's
Yeah,
not
we'll
a
pick
side. This is not a side channel.
No,
for you
no,
guys.
we'll pick a couple partners and we'll do it, and we'll probably not make a lot of noise about it because we want to learn as much as they do too. So there's a lot of wind at the sails of this thing.
Yeah.
So
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great stuff.
Cool.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.